Very good afternoon, everyone. This is fourth lecture, part two. So far now, in this particular part, we have done with the association correlation part for both type of variables, categorical as well as quantitative. We did for nominal scale, ordinal scale, and ratio and interval scale. So the next topic, which is something quite it's like I think nearby two semesters or coursework for nearby two semesters, two different subjects. Into semester generally we have in the universities, that's regression analysis, full of econometric analysis. That's all about the regression analysis. So that this is today I'll just share some basic about the regression analysis, not the derivation part in that one. That we will do in the part three. Today I'll just go in the background about the regression analysis, that why we use regression analysis, how helpful it is in our analysis part, and what are the few limitations in regression analysis. So that's a basic part that I'll take today. The derivations and all, that's a part of econometrics that we will do in the part three. So if all of you have joined, then let me start it. It's three, yeah, it's okay now. Then we can start it. So, generally, in the common languages, we have these terms like uh, ये होगा तो ऐसे होगा. These things, right? They are like correlations, that things are correlated with each others. Like if you do something wrong, that our parents would say that ऐसा करने से ऐसा होता है, type of things. Like those things are with the experience kind of things. It's a common things which I just have figured it out. But that's something related to like correlation. Now, it's something in the impact time, that कितना करने से कितना होगा type of. So let's start this regression analysis first. What is regression analysis? As I told you this in the normal distribution, this Galton's contribution, Galton board. Here he also figured out this particular thing, that that regression thing came from there, that it's a tendency that for tall parents to have tall children and for short parents to have short children. The average height of children born of parents of a given height tended to move or regress toward the average height in the population as a whole. So here he used this particular term, regress. And from here, this particular regression analysis came in the picture. In the words, the height of the children of unusually tall or unusually short parents tend to move toward the average height of the population. That's the Galton's law of universal regression, was confirmed by his friend then Carl Pearson, who did this particular experiment with thousands of records of height of members of family groups. And he also found that the average height of the sons of a group of tall fathers was less than their father's height, and the average height of sons of a group of short fathers was greater than their father's height, thus regressing tall and short alike toward the average height of all men. In the words of Galton, this was regression to mediocrity. So this is something from where this regression term came in picture, that we can analyze this phenomena about various variables and parameters. So nowadays we study this in as a separate subject, econometrics. Now this you might think about that. That is it so big thing that now we are studying one or two full subjects about this particular regression technique only, and that's econometrics. That's everything is about the regression only. So in the modern terms now, it's like the terms of views is like dependent variable, independent variable, the explanatory and explanatory variables type of things. Is now this things regression we define in these terminology. So here you can just take example that this particular average height is digressing towards particular average of the population. So that's the phenomena Gatton found among the population, and then later on Carl Pearson uh, did that particular phenomena with the this data, and they found this particular phenomena, and from there this regression analysis came in the picture. So this is something technical. I'll come with you later on. First, just go some basics, then why regression analysis? The first question. So far, we did till correlation, where we try to look upon the association between variables, the degree of the association, the type of the association, is it positive, negative, or there is no association or correlation. Then with the degree, we try to find out some statistical measurements for quantitative variable and categorical variables. So in generally, this is a phenomena of something like when we think like this, like if I do this particular thing, how it affect another thing. It's not the only question that, okay, one particular outcome or input will impact other thing or not. It's, or are they connected or not. It's something like how much one thing get affected with the another thing. Yeah, but it was, now you have to keep it mute. Okay. So this calculation, how it started. Let's me take this another look that with the, like in, we have these circles in life, right? The first child, then amateurs, then adult, and then old age. So with the life now, with our lifestyle and surroundings, these calculations start working upon. Like when we are a child, like till fifth or sixth something standards, this type of calculation won't came in our mind that, okay, if I do this particular thing, how much it affect other things. This calculations that the relation, we know that, okay, things are related with each other, but it's not like that how much it affect. These things start with the age, that when we reach to particular age, and we, like in the 10th and 12th and all, then we start thinking about the career, right? It's, I think if I put it like that, that in the 10th class it came in picture, like when we start to think about the subjects in 11th standard. Here in like India, maybe in other countries the standards are totally different, but here after 10th and 11th we start thinking about these streams, because it's not a multidisciplinary kind of thing in India. We have these three fixed streams: science, commerce, and arts. It's not like you can take any combination like Europe and other developed countries. Here the combination is already fixed. And there we start to think about that, okay, if I'll go with this particular stream, what are my career options, and then how much I can progress, how much number I need to score. And then you start these calculations that, okay, if I took this particular tuition from that particular center, how much time I have to go, how much money I have to spend, and then your marks are at stake, that how much it will improve my marks. I mean, in this particular, I'm just taking a few examples. Our calculation got started, like how of any particular activity or any particular action will affect my another action, maybe in future or something like that. These calculations start with the as we grow older and older in our age. And when we are in some this other, like when we are like after the graduation and post graduation, we join the job and we got married, we settled down with the family structure. Then it's the peak of calculation, because then you have figure out calculation for everything, that how much I spend on food expenditure, my rent expenditure if we are living in urban areas, how much I save for my to buy a house, to buy a car, how much I say, how much time I spend with my friends, how much I, how many times I'll see watch movie in a week or in a month with my family members, means how much I save for my children's education. Means it's I can say this a peak of calculations. Means every moment you are calculating something, means every moment, because everything is connected with this monetary structure, price, and bargaining that I tried to explain you in the first class that why things are in the numbers these days. Everything is in the numbers. This is something, the structure design of our lifestyle that collectively society made for us, where these calculations are now necessary to live happily or with good health. Although these relations are not proved so far, but still this calculation got started every time for every activity. Like for example, this particular series, definitely calculated that okay, if I take this particular series, this much is the charges. I need 2 hours every day, 3 to 5. Then how much time, how much benefit I'll get from it, means maybe in my PhD or data analysis. Mean definitely for similarly for every action we do calculations. And there might be some stages like now we put our values and moral things at a stake. Sometimes we do calculations. This is the reality of this particular century and where we are living. So it's everything about the calculation. And these calculations have always one thing with the another. So it means we are like this regression, like, okay, that if I do this particular action or if I change this particular thing, how much it affect another thing. So this we do every moment. Okay, so I can have, okay, that I'll discuss for, it's not a 14th, it's 15th. So it's like a peak of calculations. So we do every time. But the thing is, it's not like that we are collecting data and then we put it in an Excel sheet or software. Then we try to figure out how much is the effect. No, it's not like that. It's just like because of our individual decisions, we can figure it out just by watching others or just maybe means our brain system is designed such a manner with our knowledge and all that we can calculate these figures, right? We can figure out whether I'll spend extra time outside or not. It's not necessary that we do this with this softwares numbers all the time. No, individually we won't do this, but if it's come like the macro phenomena type of things, like in first case I took it case of policy making, then this thing needs to be in specific numbers, that okay, one thing is impacting another thing, but how much? Because now the decision making is not in an individual hand. Now the stay public, all public money or the many other important issues are at stake, so we can't just take this decision based upon some notion that okay, is it good for public or not. No, no, we need to have figure it out, because this budget thing, right, in the government, the budget thing, how much we spend on particular thing, how much on health, education, what are its implication for future, how it will generate employment, how much numbers, all these things government had to figure out. The best example you can take RBI, full of regression analysis, all the monetary policies, that if we will reduce this particular lending rate or CRR or some repo rate, then how much changes are in the money supply and demand or on the inflation and all these calculations, right? This is something regression, but it's where you know that okay, one factor is impacting another, but more than that, you need that is how much it affect, means you need something in the number, and when you think need something in the number, then this regression analysis calculation, this came in the picture. Means then we need some calculation based upon that. So it might be like our this masters and graduate programs designed in this Indian university, it's such like that we are all going to make policies for India, and that's the way this our syllabus is designed. It's not about the individual calculations, more or less about the macro phenomena, like okay, monetary policy and all on this. Although it's not true, we are not going to deal with the monetary policy and we are not going to join IES services. We might select another career options. We might need individual level calculation rather than the macro phenomena. Like then the corporate sector. Now this is something corporate world in the developed countries and increasing in developing countries too. Now our GDP share of corporate sector, the organized service sector, that's much larger than the other sectors. So that particular world also work with the regression analysis only. That every action they take is not based upon the just risk calculations and the welfare of employees or something they want to achieve in their lives. No, it's not like that. It's actually all the proper forecasting, predicting methods, all the calculations, all the data analysis before taking any actions. Because it might be possible that those companies are in debt, they took a loan from the bank or from the markets, from the equity shares. So they can't just put it on an experiment basis. Before doing anything, they need to know about their outcomes of their actions. So they need in detail. So that's the reason these days we are seeing that data analyst type of job and these courses. Now you can see the advertisement, like I think all the IITs, all the triple IITs, all the IIMs, they have started this certificate diploma courses regarding this data analysis for softwares and all. This is not just financially it is happening. This is something like because of the changing nature in the corporate world. So there is a demand for that, and we know that supply and demand, when demand starts and supplier think like that. So these educational institutions trying to capture that particular market, and they want to train students. So this thing is in the corporate world, data analysis and all this data scientists, machine learning and all. This is all about this particular regression type of thing, one way or the another. And if I'll come to the occupational wise on some individual level, like self-employed persons, casual laborers, and farmers, if they're individual, then it's not like unless they have a big enterprise like self-employed, they might do these calculations. They keep their records, they analyze everything. But if it's at a small scale, then it's not that they analyze like regression. No, but yes, the decision-making process is similar like of that they also do changes in their, let's suppose one has a shop in particular city. We also think about that, like, okay, how much I spend on the interior, what kind of decoration I do, I'll how would I handle this, all the stuff I have, I'll keep take this decision. Where do I start a particular shop? Which location? How much rent I can afford? Means everything is connected, but it's not like they collect data and they do with the calculations, Excel sheet. No, when it's come to individual life, we do calculations, the same like the policymakers. We also make our budget, individual family budgets. It is something not like the corporate world or something, the policy making, because the scale is small. And another important thing is that what about intangible calculations? Means in life, all the decisions are not based upon some tangible assets. There are intangible things at stake also. So, for example, one boy want to marry with one girl, so that or one girl, this decision-making process, like now we have internet site shaadi.com and all. You might see everything in the profile that okay, how much he earn, which type of jobs he do. But with that, you also try to look upon some characters and values like that. Okay, how is his family? How many members they have? Then you try to meet and figure out, is it suitable for me? Then there are a few intangible calculations, right? And that's not only on the individual scale, at the macro scale also, that when government make this for other countries, they also have this particular thing at stake, that how we can keep that friendship or those foreign relations with other countries. So there are a few intangible calculations also, especially when we have this environmental thinking at stake. Many times we are failed to calculate intangible assets and all. That's one limitation in the economics. That might be one reason that other domains criticize economists, that always they think about in the monetary terms or number terms. They don't think about the other things that are quite important. But the thing is that our techniques might be limited, or maybe we are not putting that much effort to capture those things also. Like this, I think 2011 or 12, it came first time, the World Happiness Index, and in the report they gave us a new measures of happiness, and now we have this happiness index. So there are intangible calculations that we have to make, and that's also quite important. In this particular intangible calculations, now this behavioral economics subject is doing the progress, then exclusion studies. There are many type of new studies which are now related to intangible assets. That's also quite important in the decision making process. But the thing is, we have some limitations to those type of calculations or methods. So why all the university didn't started these type of courses. Many have now started, but it might take time. This particular subject is in the progress. Might be 10 after 10 and 50 years. We will have new subjects in our domain that might be related to intangibles also, like cost benefit analysis only for intangible assets, these type of things. So regression thing is everywhere. It's if it's not in the numbers and the calculations or the formulas, maybe in just in your individual life, but we always do calculations for everything. That's a common phenomena. Like in the households, like if you have one television, then you are two or three family members, then you do this calculation, right? That okay, 1 hour it's your turn, you can watch whatever you want, but then I need this favor from you. It's every time, yeah. We need something in the return. So calculations are everywhere. So the regression. So how we will study this particular thing in this 4-part series. Now regression analysis is generally, if I can divide it based upon the nature of dependent variable, then it's maybe dependent variable categorical. Then we have separate techniques like logit and probit and all that we will study in the part 4. The another things when we have a quantitative dependent variable, and that we will study in part 2 and part 3 as well. Second, if I'll divide it based upon the number of independent variables, if it's a single independent variable, that's we call bivariate analysis. That we do in part 2 and 3 as well. But if it's a multivariate analysis, we will keep it for part 3, not in this part 2. Today I'll give you examples of multivariate also, but not the calculation part. Now, if I divide it on time basis, the nature of the data type of thing, then it's a cross-sectional data and time series data. For that, I can say the main time series thing where you do this war model agreement, all those things, panel and that type of things, that we do in the part 4 only. But the only basic where only the time is the variable, that basic things we can do in this part 2 as well. And this part 3 generally is for the cross-sectional analysis, not for this time series data. So this is how I divided in this series this regression analysis, because the techniques are different. There are limitations and new methods. So we need some division. So this is how I divided this particular series. Okay, so then come to this regression now, how we do this in numbers format. Now we have variables like y and x. Actually, this is dependent and independent. Simply, I can say the dependent is something which is your outcome, and you want to see the changes in that outcome with respect to any other independent variable like x1, x2, and so on. But since now here we are much more interested with the how much impact it will create on the another variable. So we are more interested in this terminology of regression, like parameters, intercept, slope that we have to calculate. Let me come to that later on, or with this particular example. Okay, and this example will explain you. These examples I have taken for categorical examples for econometric models, and this we will do in part 4. So this is something different with the quantitative dependent variables. And one more important announcement here. I have this employment unemployment data of NSSO from 1993 onward. till 2017-18, and ISDS 2 rounds data 2004-5, then 11-12. So any one of you, if interested to write a research paper with me, you are most welcome. If it's an SSO case, I'll help you to figure out with the data and all the calculation part. But the research question you have to identify, the literature thing you have to do, because I have a time limitation. So if it's a data constant, then I'm ready to help you. Means we can work it out in a collaboration. So that depend upon you. Means if you are interested, then you are most welcome. But your idea needs to be unique. You need to be put a hard all of your efforts in that particular thing, because I want that if you are working, then it must publish in at least Scopus listed journals, not just exercise thing we have to do. If it's a data constant analysis, that I can help you. If might be a consumption around employment, but most importantly, my domain is labor economics and agriculture and all. So I prefer if you figure it out with the employment and labor type of variables. That's the one announcement I have to make. Okay, now come to this particular example. Let's suppose our dependent variable is categorical, like the first one. Death due to COVID-19. Yeah, so you also already discussed it with me. I'll come to that particular. This fourth example is about that particular thing. Then the first here, the categorical variable is death due to COVID. 0 if no death, 1 is if any person is died. Now, independent variables are age, gender. Now, age, the choice is yours. You can make the groups, then it will be a categorical. Gender is categorical. Income is quantitative variable. So let's suppose I'm more interested in to see that is there any relation with age with the death in the COVID? Means is there some specific age group where the death cases are more? But if I'm only interested in the association and correlation part, then I don't need a regression analysis. The more important is if I'm interested that if with the increase, 1 year increase in the age, or with the from one level to another level in the age, how much it affect the chances or probability to become in the case of death as compared to non-death. So let's suppose I want to this type of analysis. I'm talking in the logistic terms. Maybe you are not aware about that. That's the probabilistic terms actually. That's the probability distribution functions of logistic cumulative density function. Then we have probability density, that's a normality distribution functions. So that we do in a part 4, but just I am giving examples that in this particular series, how I divided this regression analysis models. Then another variable gender. Here, let's suppose I'm interested that is it if I'll put it in reference category male, then as compared to male, how much is the changes in the outcome in probability terms to become in a category of death? Means is it some significant factor or not? But if only you want to see the relation, then we can do it with the chi-square association. But if you want to see the effect in the probabilities, then we need regression analysis. Third, income. That is it something like maybe this income might be proxy variable, that if you have a good income, you might have this access to better hospitals. If you are poor, like in the last month, the beds are not available in the hospitals, so there are chances that if you have a less income, you might die due to corona. So is there any relation? Yeah, if yes, then how much is impacting that? How much are the chances with the income, increase in income? So that might be a reverse case that you want to from 1 to 0 with the change in income. That's one example of category. Let's take another example. Divorce, if not divorce, then 0. If divorce, then 1. And again, with the age, how much is the impact of age in probability terms? Number of year of education. Maybe this is a phenomena. I can say that in the urbanized world, the more you liberal, more you educated, might be you are free and you have this liberty to take divorce, but not in a rural areas where this joint family structures and social restrictions are there. Might be. So I took in this example just as a proxy variable. Again, impact of gender. Then gender is like that. If you are male to female or female to male, depends upon situation. Sector, rural and urban, is the impact of urbanization is the thing. Then employed or unemployed. Basically, unemployed is about the females. Means if a female is employed, then how much it changes the impact as compared to unemployed. And there are an other number of factors that you can take in this particular case as an erratum. If we have one independent variable and more than one dependent, Gagan, how can that possible? That's not possible. Independent variable. That's MANOVA. New thing is that you can collaborate two dependent variables. The relationship, but generally we are avoiding that. No, Gagan, that's not possible. Gagan is not about regression. Is not about that. Then change in occupation, like you are in the same occupation as your parents are, or you are in different one. So the impact of income in this particular outcome, impact of education in years, age, and sector. Then, yeah, this fourth one where I discussed with the Soumya about the self-employed or regular wage salary earning in India. That what are the factors which affect this particular outcome among those who are working, like social group, religion, education in years, or education in a group, land size, and there are so many other factors. So this thing I was we are I'll trying to explain you so that this last one there are two categories here as a dependent variable. One self-employed and another is regular wage and salary earning. Because if any one of you familiar with the household type categories, then I believe that these two categories are in a better position as compared to other categories like casual labor and farmers these days, if I can say that. So I'm more interested in this particular thing. So for I have a data for almost these variables. So it's a number of variables in the NSSO and IHDS and few other data sources like agriculture census of India we have, and few other primary agriculture rounds. There few organizations are providing those data sets. So if this is the situation where your dependent variable is categorical, that kind of regressions we will do in part 4. In this particular part 2 and 3, more interested in a quantitative dependent variable. Like this first one, let's suppose I'm interested in this thing. Maybe this is in the women empowerment and these studies, you might find this that you want to analyze discrimination or these things, type of things. Let's suppose my dependent variable is mean income gap between male and female. Now I want to see this gap with respect to percentage of government employees in particular area. This is something related to areas. Means when you do regression and these analysis, you have to identify is that particular study is for particular areas, means it's a comparison of states or districts or villages, something like that. Is it a comparison of households, one household with another household, or is it an individual specific variables? These things you have to define in the synopsis, you have to put in the methodology part. Means your study is level, state level, country wise, household level, village level, or individual level. Based upon the nature of your variables will change. It vary with the nature of your study. Then percentage of self-employed in non-agriculture means if I believe if females will be more entrepreneurs, then might be that this male-female income gap will reduce in any particular area. Then urban population, although in urban population it's the opposite because the female workforce participation rate is much less in urban areas as compared to rural areas. There might be male-female income gap is small there. It depends upon the situation. The next example, number of COVID death. Now this is the currently if anyone you can want to study, but although currently I don't have this data with few of my friends. We are discussing this thing last week that is it possible this particular per head health expenditure of the state is possible, density is possible, that's possible, number of government hospitals we have, hospitals beds per lakh population means these variables are already in the, if you see this statistical report that come for every state, right? I forgot the name of that. Every year by year, you will have this type of data, and this number of COVID deaths. Now you can take it this data, but now you have to do a cross-sectional study. The only thing is this number of COVID death numbers are changing every day. So let's wait once it got finalized, means maybe March or April. Thereafter, you can do these type of studies. So is it means something that health infrastructure in particular state or district, how it saved lives from this particular corona disease. So this type of study you can do after this particular, those of you who are in the health economics or any other type of regression you can do. I'm just sharing the examples where you might have a quantitative dependent variable or categorical independent variable. Similarly, there are n number of analysis you can do, and that's what I was talking here, that there is a, if it's a common phenomenon like in the working, then no one is bothered about this regression analysis and things, right? But if you are in the working like the corporate, there are data analysis, policy making, government hire these economic service officers and researchers, professors, and all these, like in the academics, like you are doing the PhDs, you have to go through this regression analysis. Yes. Especially in the economics, this empirical testing is required, whatever theories and propositions you have. So it's important to understand this regression phenomena. But there are limitations. Like I did this course in JNU with Professor Himanshu and Amresh Dubey. The good thing there is that they were not teaching all the units by one professor as per the specializations. And at that time, Himanshu sir was teaching us that why not to use regression analysis, and Amresh Dubey sir was teaching that how to use this particular technique. One is teaching us all the things that how we use uh, topic by topic case studies and all, and another was teaching us that why not to use, means with the limitations. So we have to keep this balance. It's not like that these days everyone is applying regression analysis so that you can also apply. No, it's not required at all. Let me give you one example. For example, you are an IAS officer. Let's suppose you are an IAS officer or any policy advisor to any particular department or ministry. Now, head of that particular ministry is any political leader. And he may have a different background, right? So he can't understand your regression and all, right? You need information in a simple information, some simple calculations and numbers. So there you have to present your report without regression because you won't understand your regression thing. So that's the importance of this descriptive stat and correlation and all. Without regression, even we can make policies and better design making process for any outcome. That's possible, and that's many professors avoid these regressions. You hardly found any regression, I think, in the Professor Himanshu papers. His expertise, although in this ancestral and labor, all things, I think he rarely used this holistic peak. I already gave you this example of the farm size productivity debate that they did this mistake by applying the regression analysis and tried to generalize. That was a mistake there. So you have to take care of it. It's not you learn expert or something, then you have to apply. No, it's not required. You may not apply. That's also possible. The thing is, since we only study in economic courses, econometric regression and all, and we don't know how to defend otherwise, means type of innovation, other things we can do in our research so that we can avoid this regression. So the way we have is another that, okay, let's apply this. Otherwise, one will say that we didn't put any effort to analyze it. But this is not the way. There are many other ways. Okay, so now come to regression. How this thing will work. Now in regression, we have one equation that we call linear equation. linear equation. Why? Because without any more than second degree polynomial. So without any square, under root, any other form, we have simple dependent and independent variables. In linear form, linear means change is in a there is some constant term. The constant term here is something. I'll come to that. So yeah, my voice is let me voice wait. Okay, is it audible now? Yeah, it is breaking. Okay. I hope it's clear now. Okay. So now take this particular case. We have one dependent variable and another independent variable. Like a dependent variable is number of FIR registered in a year in any particular district or state. And let's say I want to see this relation with the average number of education years of all the household or individuals of that particular district. So indirectly, I can say that I want to see is there any this relationship that with the education and all this. It doesn't mean that it crime rate will increase with education. The in background, I'm thinking like that. If you are more educated, you can't tolerate the things. You can put FIR register. Like in villages, people avoid this. It's related to something social stigma and think that your reputation and all. Maybe educated people won't tolerate these things, and they definitely try it with the justice system. But I'm not talking about the Indian system where this court thing might be put you in a trouble. Maybe if in a well urban area or any other country. Just hypothetically, I'm thinking. I don't have any theory in the background. Just hypothetically, I put these variables. So now the important thing is what this is called bivariate regression analysis when we only have one independent variable. That independent variable might be quantitative or categorical. Categorical that we do in a dummy variable analysis that we will do in part 3. For the time being, just take a quantitative independent variable as well as quantitative dependent variable. So what calculations we need to do in the regression? Like in the correlation, we are trying to find the degree of correlation. So we are calculating correlation coefficient. In the regression, we need calculation about these parameters, slope and intercept. Now what this slope is and what this intercept is, I'll come to later on. But in the econometric models, we also give a space for all other variables. Means that this is not the only one factor which impacts the dependent variable. Every outcome will depend upon n number of factors. But due to some limitation, or we might be that I'm only interested in this particular variable only. I just want to know how much is the impact of this particular variable on the dependent variable. Like this particular example, the average weight of family and monthly food expenditure. So let's suppose I'm more interested in this particular thing, that is there any relation with monthly food expenditure with the average weight of family that we can identify with the correlation thing. If yes, it's significant, then I'm more interested that how much uh, average weight of family will change on an average with the change in monthly food expenditure. So if I only have a one independent variable at hand, that we call bivariate regression analysis. This part two, due to time constant, I'm restricted to bivariate analysis only because I want to keep it this derivation part for part 3 because that's totally about the regression econometric analysis. So this two variables, dependent and independent variable, that data set you have to collect or you have to take it from the secondary data source from where you are trying to get that data. To find the impact of independent variable on the dependent variable means how much is the impact, that's the slope variable or the constant. That means you need to know the constant also, that in the absence of any independent variable, what is the outcome of dependent variable on an average. So to find out these two parameters, beta 0 and beta win, we will use this regression analysis, and we need some particular methodology to calculate these parameters. This is like in the previous one we are calculating correlation coefficient. Here we have to calculate this slope and intercept. If we go this way, then wouldn't it be a biased outcome? Which one, Soumya? This FIR or this average weight of family? When these variables are hypothetically created, you can take any. I'm just saying that one is dependent variable, one is independent. Although this thing needs to be defined in the theory, that why I'm saying it's a dependent, I have to defend that why this particular outcome will change with the independent theoretically and logically. Then only I can take variables in dependent and independent form. So this cannot solely depend on just, yeah, that's not one. I'm not saying that's depend upon the one. I'm saying we will do multivariate in the part 3, not here in the part 2 because of time constraint. Like in this example, all these are multiple regression, means more than one independent variables, but means, yeah, I'm not saying that you can only do bivariate analysis, but let's suppose this is a situation. I'm only interested in this particular variable. I don't want to know about the other variables. Then you can do this analysis. It's not necessary that I can analyze all the variables related to dependent. No, that might not be my research question. I'm only interested in any particular outcome. For example, here I'm only interested hospitals beds per lakh population of particular districts, means I'm not interested in all other variables. Then I can do this particular calculation with the bivariate only. But yes, if you have multiple factors, then you go with the multivariate analysis. But here only I'm doing because of time constraint in the part 1. Yeah, practical, why not? Like Angel's curve, it's a bivariate analysis. And there are so many other explanations, like relationship between your, if I'll put this particular consumption hypothesis, Keynesian consumption hypothesis, psychological law of consumption, right? Your consumption depends upon income, right? It's bivariate analysis. It's not we are ignoring other factors. It's the thing is that I am interested in that particular factor only. Although even if you take all 4 or 5 multivariate factors, but still it's not that your 4 or 5 factors can define that all the changes in dependent variable are due to that 4 or 5. It might be a 10, 20, 30 factors. So in that case also, you are not explaining all the factors, right? We are taking only 3, 4 factors. Might be only have access to those data sets like the NSS. So there are limitation of variables. So in any case, you are not, it's never possible. You can put all the factors which impact your dependent variable. Even if it's a case of multivariate analysis, you always do whatever things you think are important as per your research question. So it might be a one variable, it might be a more than one variable. So that won't make any difference. Means it's always the limitation. You can never do this. Means it's not possible unless this is something physics or all where the relations are not with the array term. Everything is the perfect relationship. Mathematical models, because they need 100% accuracy, right? So it's possible there, not in the social science. Social science, it's not possible to analyze all the factors due to our limitations, maybe our knowledge limitations, data limitations, or n number of factors. Like I said here, intangible assets. What about intangible factors? You always take these variables, whichever you study in the literature and the data sets you have. But it doesn't mean that there are not other factors which impact that particular decision, right? There are many factors, means, but I'm saying just to understand the process. It's not that you can do only bivariate analysis. Okay, so come to this particular thing, how we do bivariate analysis and what is it? We need value for these parameters. One is saying that how much this particular impact on dependent variable, the change in independent variable on an average that we call slope variable, and another intercept variable that is generally that if your independent variable is not there in the absence of independent variable, it will be the average outcome of dependent variable. So we need these two parameters. Why? To forecast, like you need regression line. Line is actually why we need line, that to forecast or predict something. For that you need this slope parameter, and in technical term I can say you need intercept and slope variable to draw this particular line, to get this particular line. That, and why you need that particular line. For example, we have this scatter plot. I'm taking here the case of number of divorce with urban population. Let's suppose my dependent variable number of divorce and urban population. And I found there is a strong correlation like 0.93. The next thing I want to know that with the change in urban population, how much is the impact on the number of divorces on an average? So if I need this particular statement, then it's like I need a regression line like this particular line, so that I can predict about the future, something forecast about the future. It might be for lawyers or something. Maybe you are associated with some lawyer firm. Your business is associated with that particular outcome, or any other two variable relations. You need this thing to predict. So to get this particular line, we need slope and intercept. Now to get slope and intercept, we need some technique, some method. Now which method you will select? Generally we apply OLS, MLE. Maybe we only know OLS and MLE. Or there may be something different, or this is the only possible way. So let's go one first about this particular thing that, okay, so far we know that we need line. Okay, any doubt so far that we need this regression line to forecast, or maybe if not forecast, just to take a policy action. That okay, this much is the impact. So if for future we have to take decision, we need these type of changes. And for line, we need slope and intercept. Now, next thing is come that how we calculate this particular, how we get this slope and intercept. Do I am audible? Okay. So I hope is it clear now? What is intercept and what is slope, and why we need intercept and why we need slope? Any doubt so far? That in regression analysis, what we have to calculate and why we need these two things. Right now, I am only going with bivariate analysis. Might be more than one independent variable, that's multivariate, that we will do in part 3. Maybe Naz ma'am is from the social geographer. Ma'am, any doubt? Then you can just stop us. Oh, Soumya, you are from economic background. You must understand this. Slope and intercept is what, like we need a regression line. Why need to forecast or to find out the exact relationship between dependent and independent variables. So to do that, mathematically we can, for line we always need one the starting point, that's the intercept, and another is the slope. That with the change in independent variable, how much is the change in dependent variable on an average, that we call slope. So we need these two things to get this particular line, because from correlation, we know, okay, this is strong correlation, but if we need some particular action based upon, then we need something like that. How much is the impact of this particular variable on the another? Then you need this regression line. And to get regression line, these two parameters are required. Slope, okay, it's changed due to just, okay, don't confuse with these lines. Is this beta 0 is intercept and beta 1 is slope. Maybe these lines might have changed due to some editing. This is the intercept and this is slope parameter. Constant part is this one, this intercept. What it means that when your independent variable is absent, it's a zero type of thing, you can say, if you want to see it technically, then what will be the average outcome of your dependent variable? That's the constant part. From there we start the regression line. It might start from here, might start from here, that's not the thing, but from where it's getting started, that's more we are interested in, and that's the interceptor. So I hope this is clear. Then the next thing, how we calculate this parameters, intercept and slope. Then the thing is, now here there are a few tricks that I'll explain in the part 3 only, because I don't want to go in detail the array term and how we deal with the array and all this OLS methodology part that I'll discuss in part 3. But this, in a simple way, if I'll explain it, it's like that, like this particular explanation you can understand. When we draw a line through a scatter plot, some residuals are positive and some are negative. Now here using a term of residual. Now what's residual? This is the residuals. Let's suppose you calculated these parameters, slope and intercept, any three different methodologies, and you got these three lines. Now the important thing is, this is in the background of the methodology of regression, that how this technique is about. The objective here is that regression line, for example, this is the data. We need a regression line in such a manner that it will reduce the gap between observed values, the actual values, and regression line. Means if we take this gap for all the values, whatever technique will give us this minimum gap, that line we need. That's we call actually OLS, but there is some another thing that square, we call it ordinary least square technique. Why we take a square? Because even if you take this particular case, let's suppose you applied three definite techniques, you got three different lines. If you take this gap of actual values with the regression line and take its summation, you always get zero term. Like in this particular case, or you can take this particular case or any other case, you will get always a zero as summation of this gap. So you can't understand that which line is correct. To understand that, what in the OLS they did square of this gap and then try to minimize the squared gap. But it means, actually in simple language, I can say that we need line in such a manner that it will be whatever, means you need a parameters in such a manner with which you can draw a regression line in such a manner where you have a minimum gap between actual values, these are the actual values, and your regression line. Means if you take gap over all these dots from the regression line, that needs to be minimum. But it means minimum, why minimum? Because our target is to need a line which represent the actual scenario. Let's suppose I have a line here that won't represent this actual scenario, right? Means everything is happening here and I have a line here. That won't represent this particular data set. So which one we accept as a representative of this data set? The line which minimize this particular gap. But if you take absolute gap, then that summation is always 0. So to get rid of this particular situation, what they did, they took a square of this particular gap, and whichever technique reduced that particular squared gap, that regression line we need, and we call that generally ordinary least square method that minimize this gap of squared array term. And that's why we say ordinary least square. That's the background behind this particular OLS technique. OLS we apply when we have a quantitative dependent variable. That things needs to be here. I hope you got this point. The more clarity we'll get when we do this derivation in part 3, but at least in the common simple sense that we need a line which minimizes this particular gap. And the absolute minimum gap is always 0, so we need something. So to get rid of that particular problem, what they did, they squared this array term, and now they tried the technique which minimize this particular gap as maximum as possible, minimize as maximum as possible, and that's all this technique is all about. And they did this with this maxima and minima which we do in calculus. So here they applied this minima scenario. They want to minimize, like in this calculus and all, we have this thing, right? And in the objective function we can define, we want to minimize, we have condition for minimization, then maximization calculus. That I'll try to explain in the part 3. So here I don't want it too complicated, but just in the background picture, you need to know that how this particular methodology is designed. So if now, again, now I hope you can understand this process. We can't assess, okay, from the starting. Here the residuals meaning is gap of actual value and regression line. Means residual meaning here is gap of actual value to regression line. So some residuals are positive, but it means that they may be above the regression line or maybe below the regression line. So some residuals are positive and some are negative. We can't assess how well the line fits by adding up all the residuals. The positive and negative ones would just cancel each other out. We need to find the line that's closest to all the points, and to do that, we need to make all the distances positive. We face the same issue with the calculated standard deviation to measure a spread, and we deal it with the same way here by squaring the residual to make them positive. The sum of all the squared residuals tells us how well the line we drew fits the data. The smaller the sum, the better the fit. A different line will produce a different sum, maybe bigger, maybe smaller. The line of best fit, least square line, is the line for which the sum of squared residuals is smallest. And that's the OLS technique is all about. This gap of the squared, this gap, and it's squared. If you minimize this thing, that's OLS is all about. So if I'll go to OLS derivation, this derivation we will do in part 3. For this particular, maybe those of you who are econometric student, you can understand it, but others just get a notion. These we call as normal equations, and these normal equations come when we do this minimization process for the square term of error, and when we do that particular derivation, then we will reach these particular normal equations. And from these normal equations, we calculate this parameter beta 1, that's the intercept, and beta 2, that's the slope coefficient. And when we do that particular derivation, we will do that in part 3. Then they provide us these simple formulas. If you can take this, if you want to ignore this left hand side, you can just ignore this right hand side. This is the simplest method for in the bivariate case. Don't get confused with this beta 1, beta 2, this because I've taken this from 2 different books, so the notations are different. A is the intercept, this beta 1 is the intercept. So this is the formula, and for B, this is the formula, that if you can calculate correlation coefficient, standard deviation of Y, standard deviation of X, you will get this slope coefficient. This is equivalent to this particular formula. Now we have this x and y data, right? The dependent variable data, and with which we can do this calculation, like here correlation coefficient, standard deviation of y or standard deviation of x. So we can get this slope coefficient, and for the intercept, this is the y mean minus x mean. X mean is multiplied with the slope coefficient. So first we have to calculate slope coefficient. Then putting a slope coefficient, you can calculate intercept, and then you have a regression line. Just take this particular simple example. Just read it. If any doubt, then let me know. This is the simplest way of bivariate analysis. Finding the correlation coefficient for cycling accidents. Cycle car accidents are a serious concern for insurance companies. Here are data on mean age of cyclists killed each in the United States during the decade. Now, one is your time variable, another is the mean age variable. Let's suppose this is a scatter plot, and you found this is a strong correlation. So you want to see the relationship between this year with time, with mean age of this accident, who got accident, this in cycle car accidents thing. So first you have to get a regression line, what you need, slope and intercept coefficients. So slope coefficient you can calculate. First you have to calculate correlation coefficient that we did for this Karl Pearson coefficient, right? Then multiply it with the standard deviation of y and standard deviation of x, you will get this particular coefficient. And if you put this particular in this particular equation in here, where you have a mean of y and mean of x and slope coefficient, therefore this is your mean of y, your dependent variable, and x independent variable, time, multiplied with slope coefficient, you will get this intercept. So this is your final equation. The estimated mean age equal to slope coefficient, then positive, intercept term plus slope coefficient with independent variable. That's we call regression line. These parameters we know. What it means that with the increase in 1 year, the impact is of 0.81 in the accident of this mean age of cycle. It means that with the increase in age, this changes are 0.81 in average mean age who got accident in this particular situation. The mean the mean age of cyclists killed in vehicular accidents has increased by about 0.80 years of age per year during the years observed by this data. So this is okay. Let's do this with this our case, this divorce and this particular case. Let's suppose I have this situation that I found strong correlation between urban population and number of divorce. Now I want to see the effect of this urban population on number of divorce. So I need a regression line. So we have to do by this particular methodology. This methodology is, these normal equations are by OLS method, that the background is in OLS. We try to minimize the squared error term. So we need this particular line. To get this line, we need slope coefficient and intercept coefficient. So let's do it with this data. Open your data. In this data, go to file menu, example data sets. In the example data sets, take this census.dtf file. Click on use. I already had, so I'm not doing it again. Just click on this use button. use option and close it down. Here you have this particular data of urban population and divorce. So let's see, divorce is our dependent variable, like here we have divorce, and urban population is independent variable. So first you need correlation or scatter plot. First thing you always said, is it related? That you have to define with the theory. To do that, we need a graph, scatter plot, two-way graph, basic plot, scatter, the y variables like your divorce. Although it won't matter in correlation which one is dependent, but just for simplicity. And urban population as independent variable. Accept. Okay. Sorry, I selected something. Oh, I did it twice. Yeah, you will find this type of relation in your Stata software. So association is there, definitely the association, and both are moving in the same direction. So next thing we need to worry about the correlation coefficient. So is it significantly correlated? Always before jumping to regression analysis, first do correlation analysis. Statistics for correlation, we have to go to pairwise correlation. Put here your both the variables, urban population and divorce. Then I want also have this testing where this coefficient is significant. I want it at a 5% level of significance. Okay. So my coefficient is 0.93 and it's significant at 5% level of significance. That we did last time, right? This star is indicating that with the p-value that it's significant at 5% level of significance. So now I'm more interested to know that how much is the impact of urban population on the diverse zone on average, that with the increase in urban population on an average, how much is the change in the diverse? Maybe this absolute figure, diverse and population, urban population is not appropriate method. Rather than we need the better ways, you can take diverse rate and urban population rate in a percentage figures, or the urban population rate. That's more appropriate, but just for simplicity, I'm taking this. So to do a regression analysis, statistics, linear models, linear regression, dependent variable divorce, independent variable urban population. Not required to do anything else, just dependent divorce and independent urban population. Why I'm doing this now? Correlation is done, like we have this particular, but we need this regression line. And for regression line, what we need, intercept term and slope term. For that, we can apply regression analysis. So ignore all the terms in this table, just put your attention to this constant, that's our instant term, intercept term, sorry, and this is coefficient slope. So our regression equation is divorce equal to 4575.378 plus y plus, because our coefficient is positive, 0.0057 urban population. Now, how we interpret this first thing is that what it means. For interpretation, we need to know the units. Let's suppose I'm taking the absolute units, like absolute numbers. with the, now I'll take it here the one, because I didn't calculate it in the rate format. So I have to say that with the increase in one individual in urban population, divorce will increase by 0.0057 on an average. 0.0057 unit of the dependent variables on an average, because regression is about averages. It's not the absolute you can interpret. It's about the average. And if urban population is not there, then the average divorce is 4575.378 per unit. So that's in the absence of dependent variable. But there are other factors which might affect this divorce, and here we are not taking that into consideration. That's multivariate analysis. So if you have only single variable at hand, then this is how you interpret. We'll do more regression examples and we'll get more clarity about these things. So this is how we can now how we can get this regression line in Stata software. Let me give you the command for this. Okay. After regression analysis, you have to first, to get a regression line, first you have to predict y hat. This is your dependent variable, right? Estimated dependent variable. So just because this regression line is about predicted y value, right? Dependent variable. So we need these values to draw a line. So in Stata, just type predict y hat. This y hat terminology we use as we use in the all econometric textbooks. Press enter. I already have, so it will show error, but you won't get any error. Predict y hat. And after predict y hat, then this command, yeah, this one, scatter y hat. This is to get regression line after regression analysis. With the correlation, the method is different, but if you need after regression analysis, command, no, your spelling might be Gagan spelling predict, not predict, predict, predict. Then to get a regression line, first scatter. We need both a regression line as well as scatter. So first scatter space y hat space first your dependent variable divorce, then space independent variable urban population, then comma space C in small letter bracket start, then this is it L1, let's cross check, yeah, L space dot bracket close space S in small letter bracket start I space O. This is to get a regression line after regression analysis. So if you press enter this particular thing, it will show you the regression line, predicted regression line of y hat and your scatter values. So this particular, by this particular method, the way we got this urban population, sorry, slope and intercept term by OLS method in such a manner that this gap of actual values and this particular predicted value, its square of this particular gap is minimized. That's your ordinary least square technique. So this is how you can draw a regression line, its data, and the scatter plot. This command, or is it not something I can say about the commands, is something with related to programming of this data software. Like here, 5y hat. This is the inbuilt functions they have in this particular software. This is about the command of this particular logic. The one who is familiar with the Stata programming can explain the logics, this because I don't know this Stata language. The syntax way, the way they write these logics. This is just a, right now I'm just telling the command to get at this regression line. Alfit, yeah, if you are doing with the scatter only, means without this regression, then you can use Alfit. That's the idea. If you don't need this particular after regression, then you can do this with the Alfit. Like here, yeah, graphs two-way Alfit, dependent, independent, then scatter, dependent, independent. You can use this regression line of best fit, and again you can get this regression line and scatter plot. No, that's not different. The way this regression of line fit, this is the best, this is the line of best fit, right? That's the ordinary least square technique. Both the lines are same. So this is how we can get this particular thing, that impact of one variable on the another. To get that, we have to apply this particular technique. Like here in this quantitative dependent variable, we are applying this OLS technique to get the slope and intercept parameter to get some notion that how much is the impact of one variable on the another variable. So that you can do, and just to see this regression line, how it's look like, so that you can do with this particular command in Stata software. So this is something in the technical term, that the regression analysis. But the thing is that we are more interested in to figure it out, impact of one factor on the another on an average, and that impact they do with the change in the averages. This the in background is the same like this movement of means that I explained you in the covariance and correlate Karl Pearson coefficient. Here again in the background, that movement is actually trying to figure out these parameters, but in the objective function here we figure it out, that minimization of this residual term. So okay, so is it done? Means this is only the about the regression analysis, that we have to take dependent and independent variable, and then just to figure it out the regression line, that how we calculate a regression line. Means is it done with the regression analysis if we have a bivariate case of quantitative dependent variable? No, because every time with the parameters, what we need hypothesis for that parameter. Like here we calculate this coefficient, slope coefficient and intercept term. So we can't just rely on the sample study. Means we need some hypothesis testing for these parameters. Second, is it overall model significant or not? That also we need hypothesis testing. Then what about other associated variables with dependent variable? Means like Soumya said, it might be a bias that only one factor we are taking into consideration. There are other factors that we have to see. Means what is the purpose in the research question? Is it only the one variable we want to analyze, or we also need other variables which can impact this dependent variable? Then like in correlation with the coefficient of determination, that how much the variation in one variable is explained by the another variable. That also we need here, that okay, if you are taking into consideration only one variable, so how much variation in the dependent variable this particular independent variable is explaining? It might be 10%, 5%, 20%, might be 80%, that we don't know. So that information is also important. But it means that how much variation is left in the dependent variable, which is not explained by this particular independent variable. So to do that, we have to look upon the other factors. So these few things we do on now Monday. Tomorrow, what I had planned that in the parallel session, this NSSO data extraction is going on. Today, we will try to figure it out, finalize it out, the regression extraction technique. Tomorrow, I'm going to introduce with this NSSO secondary data set with the Stata software. So I hope it might be useful for all of you as well, so that if we have a large data sets, and how we do analysis those large data sets. So tomorrow I'll take one session on this particular variable, employment and unemployment, workforce participation rate, or rather than I'll just take any regression or correlation example with this large data set, that how we work with these large data sets in this Stata software. So far, I want to do it with the extraction participants, but I think it might be useful for all of you as well. So you all can join this class tomorrow at 8 to 10 p.m. So tomorrow we don't have class at 3 to 5 p.m. In place of that, we will do this regression and correlation and some analytical part with NSSO employment data set. I'll show the variables, type of variables in the employment data set. Maybe any one of you might take that as a research paper. In future might be. It depend upon the situation. So that will also be helpful to you. And these things we will do on Monday. Hypothesis testing for these parameters. Hypothesis testing of the overall model, this regression model. What about other associated variables with dependent variable? Means that depend upon the situation. And how much variation in dependent variable is explained by the independent variable. These things we will do on Monday. One important thing, there are many other things which we need to understand while we apply regression analysis. Those minute details I'll discuss in the econometrics part in part 3. So far, I'm just putting it as simple as possible, just to give you the notion that how regression analysis will work. Means you can just get some idea that this is the way regression will work. But here, because of the nature of data, the technique might differ. So initially, I'm just taking quantitative dependent variable, both for part 2 and part 3. Categorical dependent variable, I'll put in part 4 only. Is there any class day after? No, Saturday, Sunday is no class. Then we have a class on Monday. Monday, I'll take these 3 or 4 topics, and thereafter we will do time series, basic time series analysis. I want 4 classes for time series, like this moving average, exponential smoothing curve, semi-average method, few basic things that might help you anytime if you are doing something like that, or you have that kind of data set. But that's a very basic. The more econometric time series kind of thing that we will do in part 4 only. But the basic things I want to discuss in the part 2 as well. So thank you so much. Any doubts so far? Yeah, tomorrow, not AM, PM. Okay, so thank you so much for being kind patient for this regression analysis. These days, this regression is everywhere in research papers of economic researchers and all in many other domains where there are many limitations with this regression analysis that I try to explain in the part 3 and part 4 as maximum as possible. Still, the registrations for part 3 and 4 open. If anyone friend want to join, he or she can join. Okay, thank you so much. So we will meet tomorrow at 8 p.m. Thank you so much.